That one?
That one, yes. And we are live. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning in this fine first Monday of June, Pride Month and everything, which is fitting since it's also the month of Star Wars The Acolyte. So, yay! And co-piloting with me today is Mike the Mexican Iron Man. How's it going?
Well, thanks for having me, Andre, the boss man. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Tom is off today. He's handling some family personal business. Everything's fine. He's just give him the day off. I told him on Friday, since it was his birthday weekend, to take Monday off. So sadly, we're stuck with a great YouTuber, the great Andre, and a non-YouTuber.
But a great YouTube producer. So I do believe we are all in great hands. And unfortunately, Cultured Casino, he is still out hunting Bigfoot. So we'll have to manage without him as well. And beyond that, we'll just see who shows up over the course of the day. But starting us off, we have a super sticker from Dr. Long Dongler. So everyone, please smash that like, help share the stream, let everyone know that we are live, because we got an awesome show. As I mentioned already, we have Star Wars The Acolyte, we have box office news, which is very bad news for the Mad Max franchise, and there may be more bad news for Henry Cavill and for Warhammer as well, as we will get into here. So let's just get straight into the box office right away, shall we? It's just going to take a little bit longer than usual.
Doing that. Did you recognize Chipmunk of Vengeance, who's been a member for 5 months?
Yes, we're glad to have you. And he says, and I thought it was Papa Palpatine that destroyed the Death Star. Yeah, well, it's a little bit unclear who did what. May have been Anakin, apparently, but we will get into that. But first, let's begin with this weekend's box office. Usually we have Cultured Casino here for that. But we will manage anyway. And I'm just going to read the numbers. I see it's not that big on screen here. But basically, winning the weekend was the Garfield movie, coming in at number 1, adding another 14 million to its domestic gross, which is now 51 million in its second week of release. Coming in at number 2 is another animated 4-quadrant movie, namely If, in its third week of release, earning 10 million this weekend for a total of 80 million domestically so far. And really doing badly this weekend is Furiosa, sinking down not to second, but to third in its second week.
A 59% drop, Andre.
59, yeah, well, actually, yeah, 59% drop, 59.2. And normally, if a movie opens to like really big numbers, a sub 60% drop is good. Well, it's not good when you open to as small a box office as did Furiosa and Mad Max Saga. Then that indicates, if not bad word of mouth, it certainly indicates a lack of audience interest.
Yep.
Anything that stands out to you about these numbers?
Well, I think a couple things stand out for me. One is that unbelievable. Oh, here's something that stands out to me. Paul Chato was here.
Sorry for being late.
Oh, it's all right. Glad to have you.
Oh, you're just not used to starting on time.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah. Two things, Andre. One is that the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, while it is widely considered mediocre to lackluster bomb from a variety of perspectives, I think it's still hanging around. And the fact that Furiosa could barely edge out Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which has been out at least a month now, longer with previews, I mean,
Yeah,
boy,
officially it's now in its 4th week of release, and yeah, that's really quite something that Furiosa and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, there's literally 3 weeks in difference in how long they've been out, and there's less than 2 million separating them part of the weekend of box office.
yep,
Less
yep.
than 2 million between them.
I mean, the Fall Guy. I don't know how long that one's been out, but I mean, it's still making
5
some.
weeks.
How long?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. 4.2 million. You know, overall, no one's going to the movies anymore. I think I've even realized it myself. I was on Doomcock stream on Wednesday night, and I think I realized that sometime in the last few weeks, just like this summer, as this summer's approached, I think I'm now out of the habit of going to the movies. Whereas for most of my life, I've gone to the movies at least 2 to 3 times a month for as long as I can
Hmm.
remember. I mean, when I was married before for quite a number of years. And she and I literally went every Thursday or Friday night. We had weekly movie night, and we would pick a movie and we would go together. I mean, we did that for damn near a decade. So, and then on my own, I was already used to the habit. I just kept going, you know, and I think I'm out of this habit. I think the lackluster experiences that I've had when I pay to go and sit in the movie and watch a movie have killed off any optimism I have for anything that's not really, really good. And I think part of me thinks I become one of those people that says I'll see it when it comes on streaming, but I never do. I mean,
Mm.
I really never do. Somehow Hollywood has trained me to think that I'm gonna see it in streaming later, even though, and I have every service. I mean, I have everything under the planet. I don't have Disney Plus, but I got everything else. But I never do. I never get around to seeing it on Amazon or Netflix unless I'm assigned to it by by YouTube channel that I appear on. I think I'm out of the habit of going to the movies, and I think I'm kind of sad about that.
Well, I don't blame you for it. And also, a big problem here is that there's no movies to see. I think you probably wouldn't be out of the habit of going to the movies if there was anything worthwhile. But that's kind of the problem here, isn't it? Because so many movies that should be coming out now were just removed from the calendar or pushed forward because of the strike, or rather pushed backward, maybe the better way of saying it. But so many 2024 movies are now 2025 movies. And know that I'm not just talking about Captain America or other Disney movies that we'd be better off not seeing, like Snow White, but just in general, movies that were affected by the strikes that we now have behind us, which just meant that they couldn't get back in production on time to be released for this year.
Right.
So maybe next year will be better, but yeah, this year is pretty slim pickings. Gotta say that. I mean, we all discussed a couple of days ago, actually last week, how I stand by the fact that Beekeeper is still the best movie of the year.
Yeah.
That's because it's a year with, of course, there's new movies coming out every single week, but there's no good ones.
The other problem we have, which I want to draw our attention to real quickly, is that I'm just going to bring this back up again, is
Yeah,
the
go for
per
it.
theater revenue. If you look at the average revenue per theater, that's not per screen per show, that's per theater for each of these theaters in which this movie is located. If you look at the per theater average of $2,800 for the weekend, that it's unsustainable if you are relying if you have a movie theater and you're relying on having enough cash to pay your rent, pay your utilities, pay your people, buy your popcorn, and sell it, knowing that you're only going to get anywhere from 40 to 60% of that number, because the theater, that 2,855, that theater split, we'll just call it half for now, but it's not usually half, but we'll just call it for craps and giggles right now, 2,855. We'll say it's half of that at $1,400. That means you're making 1,400 for the weekend on that movie at that theater. Now, that's a problem for 3 reasons. One is that it's a low number in general. 2, they got to split it. And 3, is that most of the bigger numbers per theater are in metropolitan areas. So if any of our listeners here on Midnight's Edge who live in, like me, in the suburbs, not in a big city, not in a Santa Monica, not in a Santa Ana, not in a a major metropolitan area, that means the theaters cannot survive. There's just no way that with rental retail rates that they're going to have enough cash, because rental retail rates, your operating overhead is supposed to be never more than about 10 to 18% of your revenue take. And I'm quite sure that these guys have been pushed because rental rates in the US in particular, generally around the world, have not come down post COVID. If anything, they've stayed the same or gone up, as many landlords have tried to recapture and make up for the many months that they didn't. So what we see here is, I believe that we see a literal Hollywood has, in its attempts to wokeify itself, it has created its own malignant virus that's going to start destroying its distribution networks, starting with me and continuing all the way up through the chain of command. And in this case, it's the theaters. This is very bad. I think we might be watching the Kmartization of movie theaters. I remember Circuit City was a real strong company until it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know if Hollywood knows what it's done to itself, because if it's not making money for anybody that have the vested interest in showing their wares, then there's not going to be any money to make.
That is a very, very good point. And I hope that they're willing to press the panic button, that they realize that this cannot continue and it's a situation entirely of their own making. Because this is unsustainable. Certainly with the model that it has, that Hollywood has been built around. Right now, the money isn't coming. The audience are going away, and they're doing so for a variety of reasons. As you said, one is that they can't afford anything. I would add one thing to that, which is just makes everything so much worse, and that's inflation. Which is why the landlords, everyone has to increase the bills, and that's kind of like a self-perpetuating cycle right there. Before we move on to some of the casualties of this box office, Paul, any thoughts on cinema and the future of it?
I've talked about it before, that it's always has been a numbers game. Hollywood has known for a good long time that you had to greenlight X number of movies or even X number of TV shows. It doesn't matter. And you play the percentages. When I was head of TV comedy, I had no choice but to greenlight stuff. My joke was that if I turned down every single proposal that ever came my way, I'd have 100% perfect record. So
true.
So
or all true, almost true. Can I just add to that? You wouldn't have lost any money, but the moment they start asking you, how much have you earned for us?
Right, but at least I haven't lost.
Yeah.
So right now everyone's losing. So the only method that works is to get back to 5 studios releasing 24-ish movies per year, and going back to the formula where they hope 2 of them make them enough money to cover off all the duds, 2 or 3, and doing that many movies, I know because I've talked with executives, they would purposely greenlight all the small films that we're talking about, like 1 or 2 of them, in hopes that they become wildly successful. But they're not doing it. It's mechanical. It's conscious, it's mechanical, it's a formula which worked for an awful long time. You know, you'd get a Driving Miss Daisy, suddenly a cheap movie, becoming very, very successful. That's what's broken, is that you cannot swing for the fence for every single, let's say you only have 3, 4 movies you're going to release for the entire year. The idea that every single one is going to be successful is ridiculous. You have to play the percentages. You put a left-handed pitcher against a left-handed batter. That's it. There's no other way to do it. That is what is broken.
Yeah,
Yep.
indeed. And since that is broken, there are some casualties, and this is actually relevant to the box office because, as we discussed, Mad Max isn't doing too hot, and we know that George Miller, the writer and director of the Mad Max movies, he was planning to do more. Not anymore, though. We have a story from this by Bleeding Fool. Mike, can you bring that up on screen? Who is writing that Furiosa did so poorly that it kills off Mad Max future sequels after franchise. Well, or technically, they are on hold. But that's just the first step in them being killed off. Unofficially, they're obviously killed off because Furiosa is going to be a big money loser. And Fury Road wasn't that hot to begin with. I mean, that really didn't earn all that much, so I'm surprised that they greenlit Furiosa in the first place. Very surprised that they didn't do any more Mad Max movies, because if anything, they would have done better than a prequel to a 9-year-old movie that wasn't a big hit and that hasn't really left any kind of cultural footprint afterwards. And because of that, as is written by our good friends over at Bleeding Fool, the future Mad Max movies that George Miller had also written and wanted to do next will no longer be happening. So, Mike, are you surprised by this or upset by this in the slightest, including on Hollywood's behalf, because that's then potentially 2 movies that won't get made now?
What I'm shocked at is the second paragraph that I'm just reading live now, which I'll read out loud. As I reported last Thursday, Furiosa faced several issues leading to its poor performance. Despite a budget of around $300 million.
What?
Including marketing. Paul, right? Right? Wow. Okay, here's what else. I'm going to continue on. It only grossed $30 million over the Memorial Day weekend, a historically low figure. We already knew that. Worse than 40 years. We already knew that. Many say this is partly due to the absence of the central character Mad Max, which alienated fans expecting to see him in a prominent role. Furthermore, the film's marketing failed to resonate with a broad audience, as indicated by the 71% male and 29% female split in its audience, compared to the more balanced audience of Fury Road. So chicks didn't show up, even though chicks make up half the population. They didn't show up to watch this movie. Where is the modern audience I keep hearing about, Andre?
Oh, they're an elusive bunch, and they choose not to show up for all the stuff that's made for them.
Well, but we're making all this stuff for them, Andre.
Yeah, it's weird. Really weird.
They're all off visiting Hadrian's Wall, which has been dedicated now as an LGBT heritage site. and I'm not joking.
Are you joking? No, you probably aren't.
No. In fact, I'm releasing a video today on
this is serious?
I'm serious. The English Heritage Fund has declared the Hadrian's Wall as an LGBT symbol because Hadrian was gay, but it gets more complicated than that. And it's in my video. It's going to be explosive.
Yeah, I was about to how do they rationalize that? But
they rationalize it through Michael Foucault's queering lens, where they're constantly trying to apply modern day mores to ancient history. So, in my video, and I don't want to get into it too deeply, but I don't want to interrupt this, but, the point is Hadrian was the most powerful man in the world. If he came to your door with a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of ouzo, you're going to go with him. Like, you just had no choice. And so people's view of homosexuality and sex and everything else was so radically different back then, but everyone now, especially in the queering business, is trying to, not change history, but to reinterpret history,
to rewrite it in a safer way.
It's not safer. It's actually less safe because
it's safer for them, for their ideology.
Well, actually, no, because what they don't mention is that Hadrian's main squeeze, Antinous, was 12 years old.
Yeah, I don't think it would be very good for their messaging to mention that.
No, it's not. And even in 200 AD, there's literature that shows that the age of majority, believe it or not, this literature exists, was 14 years for a boy and 12 years for a girl. That's actually which is one of the reasons they didn't talk about it much back then, because I believe even back then they were kind of embarrassed with Hadrian. So, this queering of history, which we are now seeing happen constantly with Vikings that have suddenly become trans. And
yes, I know, I've seen this. Yeah.
What?
And
yep,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just as we get obsessed with that right now in this age, then activist researchers all of a sudden make discoveries of trans Vikings that were there the whole time and were never discovered before. Funny how that works.
Okay.
Anyways,
The Mexican has a question.
Yes.
Okay. What sterile clinics were involved to perform aforementioned Viking surgery, Andre?
A battle axe.
A double-sided.
Good God, you people took your transsexualism to a whole other level.
Yeah, the Norwegians were, very famous for their transsexual heroes.
Well, I think that Bleeding Full has it on the money. I think no one.
And in some ways, I think this also. I think this also dovetails with this whole nonsense with Furiosa. I think it's all part of the same.
Yeah.
Wokeification of stuff.
Yep, that's what I was about to say. That's exactly what I was about to say. Yep.
And the other thing that I mentioned about Furiosa is that if this was a who did I mention? Back in the 50s, they would have babified Furiosa. She would have like a torn outfit with just specific areas concealed, but she would still be hot.
Yeah.
You're talking about the 90s now.
No, yeah, well, I'm talking about.
Hey, I'm thinking Raquel Welch.
Yeah.
Stars as Furiosa back in the
day. Definitely then. But you could have gone quite a bit and done a lot in the 90s as well.
Russ Meyer's version of Furiosa, I would have gone to see.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Well, with changes in the world, I'm quite sure when someone in the chat mentioned the Great Wall of China, I can't wait for that to be declared a safe space.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's in China, so I would not expect that to happen anytime soon. I think we're probably better off looking for some other monument in Western civilization to get its own pride makeover. That's more likely than anything in China.
Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my favorite actresses, and she is just gorgeous. And they made her as unpalatable as they possibly could. They wouldn't have done that in the old days of Hollywood.
No, this is true.
I also think people were disappointed. There's no reason to see Mel Gibson. There's no Mel Gibson to be seen. I know in my particular case, if Mel Gibson had been in the movie, I probably would have been curious enough to buy a ticket and go. Similar to how I was with The Flash, which I didn't expect to be a good movie, but I very much was curious to see what they would do with Keaton in the Batman role.
Too.
I think if Mel Gibson had been in this, I would have been like, wonder what they're going to do. And I probably would have gone. I would have driven the 10 minutes to the local theater and made time to go see this movie.
But Mike, so the thing is, how come Hemsworth didn't bring bums?
Because he just says he says such dumb crap all the time. I have no interest in it. I do not see him as a Hollywood star. I see him as like a B-level, not even as significant as The Rock. And I think The Rock is very B-level Hollywood.
You are actually not wrong, because some of this actually feeds into some of the stuff that I have heard. As we mentioned in our post-mortem of Furiosa, which is holding up very well because this is a franchise ender right here. Chris Hemsworth has kind of destroyed his own career a little bit because he has made such horrible choices of roles that do not benefit him and that do not benefit his image, because he almost exclusively plays someone who is only there to further the female role. And when he chooses roles like that, then that tends to be in movies that the audience isn't necessarily going to respond to. And I think that's the real reason why outside of the MCU, he struggles. And that kind of like brings us to other upcoming movies he's in. What other upcoming movies does he have other than the that franchise that he has going on Netflix? Like, what other theatrical movies does he have coming forward? Can you guys think of anything? Because I'll tell you how desperate he is.
He was, well, I don't think he's desperate financially.
No, he's obviously not desperate, but desperate may be the wrong word to use, but what he is, shall we say, he is more willing to take on roles, from what I have heard right now, than he otherwise would be, because his days as a live action star, meaning in feature film star as opposed to a Netflix star,
Right.
are rapidly coming to an end, especially with Furiosa tanking, which means that he right now is seriously contemplating and actually in talks for another role that he probably wouldn't even consider 1 month ago, namely in G.I. Joe versus Transformers, because that is happening.
Wow. He was good in Extraction, but that's your Netflix example.
That's the Netflix thing.
He was great. He was really, that's a great show.
It's also a direct-to-video show.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's straight to Netflix, and that's the modern day equivalent of direct-to-video. And Chris Hemsworth, even though he is going to be financially fine for the rest of his life, and he still can be that on Netflix, as a matter of pride and progress in the career, he doesn't want to be stuck doing direct-to-video movies, which again, straight to Netflix right now is the equivalent of direct-to-video. He doesn't want to be like Steven Seagal that can pump out movies direct-to-video, but he can't get a theatrical release if his life depended on it. And right now, he is headed in that direction, meaning that he is in talks for, I do not know exactly which role, but I would assume Duke in the G.I. Joe reboot that was crossing over with the Transformers. This would be the sequel to the Beast Wars movie that came out like last summer, because that was actually setting up G.I. Joe.
Yep. I agree. I think his days are, it's been a long time since we first saw him on Star Trek, way back when, before he got blown up in the J.J. Abrams track. And then I think, I just think his career I think his whole image has been mismanaged. Starting with how he managed the Thor brand as an actor. I just think he's not hitting he hasn't hit all the right cylinders and all the right ways. And he just said some dumb stuff, and he just doesn't know how to. He doesn't have, what is it you call it, Paul, or that jelly, the jam, the
royal jelly.
Yeah, he doesn't have that.
He's close. I think in the right role, I think he can find something that would break out and be a little bit different from what he's been doing. He's a charming fellow. He's intelligent, but again, we're not getting roles like that written. No one's writing a charade kind of movie with not Clark Gable. Anyway, Audrey.
Well, he may be intelligent, but he hasn't been when it comes to picking roles, because I'm sure that if he wanted to, he could pick roles that would be closer to something like that and provide notes to get them even closer to it. But instead, he has exclusively chosen these roles where he's cucked on screen pretty much all the time. And that's the polar opposite. That's a choice that he has made. He's bragged about this. I
have no idea who's writing anything decent out there. I mean, again, Fall Guy was not bad. Under, if that came out 15 years ago when the movie studios were churning out movies at a regular rate, I think it would have done very well. There's nothing wrong with the Fall Guy per se. It's not a great movie, but again, it's a movie.
It's a wrong movie at the wrong time, I think.
No, I agree with you, but I'm trying to think of who's a star out there.
Well, there are not too many of them.
No, I mean, if Emily Blunt and Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling can't open a film, then that's problematic, really.
But I think Hollywood is killing their ability to open the film. Andre, we've got a breaking story in the background, but I think we should
do. And
let's knock out
actually,
some of these super chats. One of them relates to it.
Yeah, let's do the super chat and lead into the story, a breaking story.
Tomahawk for $10. So what's your over under that vibro blades will be more effective than lightsabers in the Acolyte? Wow. Tomahawk.
We'll get into
how many D cells they
lightsabers.
had to use up for the Acolyte? I mean, just insane.
Well, they're going to last forever because of the kyber crystals. Moving along.
Right.
Pete Den Cat, who's been a member for 19 months, says hot summer nights are nearly upon us again. Ice cream men around the world will be checking their oil and air pressure and hitting the streets. What I want to know is, what tune does your icy play? Well, I'm a cherry strawberry kind of guy, if that's what that means. I think. What tune does your icy play? I think that's what that means. Flavor of icy? I'm not sure. Andre, help.
What tune does your icy play? Like, is icy another term for a boombox or something like that?
No, that's for the ice cream truck.
Okay, right.
Well, I don't know. Mine would be in Spanish. I'm not sure what song, but
so the question is, like, your local ice cream truck. What tune does it play? Okay, I see. I can tell you that because I'm not in Norway right now. Where I am, there is no ice cream truck. But where I used to be, in outside of Oslo, there's it's the tune of a Norwegian documentary / entertainment series called Norge Rundt, meaning around Norway, where you basically have like these little news stories and happy stories from around the country. Like, this family, they befriended a local hedgehog or something like that, right? Not quite, but anyway. So my local icy, they have that melody, the melody of that show, which is quite iconic, and every Norwegian will know it.
STR Red Wolf has been a member for 20 months, says hello. STR Red Wolf again for $5 says, who has time for movies that suck? I'm busy writing more interesting stories here. Don't have time for crap on screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Goku McDuck for 50. What are those, Andre?
Mexican dollars.
Oh, Mexican pesos.
I'm surprised you didn't see that.
Andre, as we know, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not supposed to know these things. You can tell by the way my hat is going.
We'll go with that.
Of course, look at the super chat. Didn't even read it first. Garfield opened in Mexico since late April due to Children's Day over here. That is why it has been making lots of money here. Wow, someone's actually thinking strategic over there. Garfield. Good. Interesting. Chaos Sonic 1 for $5 says it is actually hilarious if beat Furiosa. Eat your heart out. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Yep. Chaos Sonic again for $5 says also Garfield 1 again. I will repeat, I called it for Garfield. The brand is like Lovecraftian deity, as it will never leave your mind.
Yeah, maybe Jim Davis made some pact with some old ones when he created that kitty, because that.
I mean, Garfield's been around like forever. It's like Snoopy.
No, really, Garfield hasn't been around that long. In terms of like pop culture, Garfield is relatively new. Garfield has only been around like since the 70s.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like it's been around all my life. Well, that explains.
It has been around all your life, but it hasn't been around your parents' life.
Oh,
it's easily 20 years.
Yeah, like for instance, Paul Chato is old enough to remember a world without Garfield.
Yes, it is. We have a group of people that pledge exactly that.
The Willie Bot has been a member for 10 months. Says there's only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Oscar Wilde. I'm not angry, just tired with Hollywood. Fluffy Panda says hello, who's been a member for 18 months. Thank you for your patronage, Fluffy Panda. The Icelandic Filipino, who's been a member for 12 months, says death metal Uber allies.
Yeah, Uber alles.
Alice.
Yeah, that's
Uber
an
alles.
oh no, yeah. Death metal. Oh, that's some fighting words right there, because death metal and Norwegian black metal are mortal enemies.
Yep. So I've heard.
Although most people can't tell them apart.
Dean Krantz for $10 says, after hearing Mr. Chato say that, I declare England has fallen. What a joke this is.
Yep.
God, who lets it? How do you go from conquering the world? I want to know how in 250 years, a mere 250 years, which is not even a microscopic blip on the screen of time of humanity, how you go from having conquered the entire planet to like declaring pride walls.
I think we hit successive governments that decided that they were going to apologize for their success, and didn't celebrate, the good in all of what it is that England did.
Yeah.
People can talk all about colonialization, but every place they colonialized ended up being wealthier, and not that there weren't bad things that happened. I'm not going to get into that discussion. But hey, put it this way: all good times come to an end, baby.
Yeah.
Chaos Sonic One with another $5 says, how long till this alphabet wokeification of history will last, or will this make the backlash worse on the alphabet community?
It's going to last until it is stopped, and it's not going to stop on its own.
Yeah, different jurisdictions are handling it differently too. The United States, state by state, are legislating DEI out of the school systems, things like that. I don't see that happening up here in Canada anytime soon. But I think what's going to happen is this: it's a combination of so many things. The fact that we have, and this is going to be a weird thing to say, the fact that the middle class is being decimated, and there's a lot fewer manufacturing jobs in North America and in England too. I mean, Germany has kept their manufacturing jobs. I don't know about Norway. And by shipping it all
very little, we have mostly outsourced all of our real job, other than the ones that must be done here on site. Most of the, and again, who's done it? Same as all over the place. It's the workers' parties. It's the labor parties. It's the sister parties of the Democrats in the U.S. They are the ones. That's labor in the U.K. They are the ones that have outsourced all of the working jobs, the ones who were supposed on paper to protect the workers.
Yep, isn't that ironic?
Them all.
Yeah, it's ironic. So the thing is, we no longer have a middle class technically to fight against this backlash. We just have a bunch of kids in universities who go into encampments and scream that they're demanding stuff. So I don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah. Jason, it'll end when we make it in. Jason Webster for $2 Australian says Godzilla -1 is available on Netflix. Woohoo!
Yeah, that was a surprise drop. We actually spoke about this on Friday, because that's when it dropped, and it wasn't announced or anything like that. The announcement was it's now available on Netflix
as VOD.
No, you just freely available on Netflix. There's no VOD. You can just go in on Netflix and you can see it right there. Of course, if you're not already a subscriber on Netflix, you have to subscribe to it. And if you are a subscriber on Netflix, hey, this is part of the overall offering, which is why you should stay subscribed to Netflix. That's how they combat churn, by dropping little nuggets like this. You're muted, Paul.
Don't leave the show to go watch it right now, Paul. Watch it later.
There's something else you have to watch too, but I can talk about like the best TV series to drop this year, other than Fallout. But
we'll come back to this one real quick. Dyrus, Hemsworth, and Cavill's whole generation of actors have been effed over by Hollywood for the past 15 to 20 years. That is why they are not big stars.
That's part of it. That is part of it. No favors have been done to the actors But, well, really, all of it is Hollywood's own fault. Every single thing that we see that they're struggling right now is entirely of their own making. All of it. And some of us have been warning them against what they're doing to no avail, because they've been carrying on towards the path to destruction, or self-imposed destruction. Anyway, now they're trying to manufacture a star every once in a while, but the only time it's really worked recently is Sydney Sweeney. I kind of think that's a little bit more organic than any of us would like to believe.
This same sentiment is echoed by Gift of the Gab for $2 Australian. Could also be Chris's management too, like Cavill.
Part of it. Many of these stars, they don't have the best of management. Some do. And Cavill, he has changed management several times over. In his case, it is also that he has a reputation for being difficult to work with, which he got by wanting to protect the source material. Gets him fans, doesn't do him any favors in the industry. But because of how Hollywood has chosen to do things, the age of the movie star is kind of over. You have famous names and you have famous faces, but that doesn't help if they don't draw a crowd unless they're attached to certain roles. Like Chris Hemsworth, he has shown that now several times over. He's a famous face, he's a famous name. He can't draw a crowd unless that face is associated with Thor. And that actually is something familiar in Hollywood that goes way back. I mean, it's the same thing with, for instance, Peter Sellers. Huge star, but couldn't sell a ticket to save his life unless he was in a Pink Panther movie.
Correct.
Joe Pat 87 for $5 says, I tried to attend a screening of the Muppet movie yesterday, but they had to cancel. They couldn't get the projector to work. What?
Wow.
Oh, that sucks.
That's too bad.
Wow. Vic the Stampede for 200 Czechoslovakian. Is that be Krona?
Yes, that is Czech Krona. That is entirely correct. I'm surprised you knew that. That's a very good YouTuber.
I didn't know Mexican money.
That I don't know Mexican money, but I knew that was a Czech Krona. That Andre, that I should know that. I'm not a YouTuber.
Yeah.
As a person that has played video games for the last 30 years, it's so weird and sad seeing all companies succumb to DEI. Is this how Star Wars fans felt like with The Last Jedi?
Yes. They felt worse. Actually,
worse.
I would say they felt even worse.
But yeah, kind of.
So yeah, the pain that you are feeling with what's happening with video games right now, I would say that's equivalent to the pain that fans of Marvel are feeling with what's happening with Marvel. Whereas what happened with The Last Jedi, that was a completely different level. I mean, imagine your absolute favorite franchise. Like, Vic, I do not know what is your absolute favorite video game. But just imagine that one game that means so much more to you than anything else, that is getting the full-on Sweet Baby Inc. treatment, and then it carries on in a new direction like that. And it's going to come close. What's happening across the board with franchises you're only semi-attached to, well, that's the MCU going under. That's all the other things. But The Last Jedi, and I can say this since I just observe it from the sidelines, because Star Wars never meant that much to me, but that was a league of its own. And the pain of that and the shock of that is being felt to this day, and it reverberates all the way through The Acolyte, because that ended Star Wars right there. Everything else has just been it's like zombie Star Wars right now.
Yeah,
that just doesn't know it yet.
And one thing I'd mention on the previous topic is that let's not punish an actor for being known for just one role. I mean, most actors aren't known for any role.
This is true.
So the fact that you've got one that you're known for, Maxwell Smart, for instance, the comedian who did that. William Powell was a big nobody in the movie industry until he got The Thin Man with Myrna Loy. This is 1934, kids. Remember that. And suddenly he became associated with The Thin Man. But his career went nowhere, like forever. They were ready to jettison him until he had The Thin Man. Then they did about 7 movies together. So yeah, to be associated with only one role, there's very few actors like stars that have had multiple, have been in multiple movies without being attached to a single role. I mean, Harrison Ford has been able to traverse different movies, right? I would say he was able to open movies, but back in the day, you got associated with, you were a swashbuckler or something like that. Very few actors can play the field.
Well, let's put it this way. All of the actors that you can name and see the face of, the people that you can, like, if we ask you to, like, say, mention 20 actors, and anyone that you put on that list, they are in the top 1 percentile or even top 1 promille of actors who are huge stars and make a living from this. Like, really, any actor that you can name are doing pretty decent. Then you have all of the other trying. Yeah. So we are talking right now about the 1 percenters of entertainers, just because we know their names.
Yep.
Most actors are working actors.
And again, this goes back to also having enough product in the mix that even a B-level actor that is well enough known might be something that you would go to because you have fond memories of that person. They don't all have to be Audrey Hepburn, right? The Man Called Flint. Who was the actor that did that?
There was James Coburn.
James Coburn. So James Coburn is like your quintessential B-level actor that was also really well enough known that if a movie was released that weekend and he happened to be, let's say, the only most well-known actor in the mix, because we were used to going to movies, as Mexican Iron Man said, you'd go, oh, I'm going to go see this Coburn movie. He's not A-level, but I know him well enough. So not only has the A-level actors been eviscerated, so has been the B-level.
Shauna Bass for $20 observes, I love Fury Road, but didn't like Furiosa. It was too long. It was too long and had no emotional punch. None of the payoffs left an impact, and many of them happened off screen. How she lost her arm was such a letdown. Miller lost his touch, I fear. Oh, spoiler alert. She loses her arm.
Not much of a spoiler. I mean, that was the whole point of the movie, if we're honest, was how she lost her arm, because that's like the one standalone thing or the standout thing with Furiosa. If we're completely honest, the one standout thing with her, even in Fury Road, was that she only had one arm, which of course opens the tacit question, how did that happen? And the original plan for Furiosa was that it was supposed to be an animated movie, something akin to the Animatrix, just something to like deepen the universe before they carried along with the live-action sequels, continuing the adventures of Mad Max and him saving other women, or being present while other women saved themselves, rather. But then someone had the bright idea of taking what should have been an animated little bonus feature and do a full-blown $300 million standalone movie based on it.
Wow.
And that obviously wasn't the hottest of ideas, as we're seeing right now, because it killed off the Mad Max franchise.
I could see it as an anime. If you're an anime fan, then there's no shortage of women.
It would have been better that.
Yeah, I mean, I can envision the explosions and the flames and things like that in that anime, convoluted ball style.
And a few more, and then we're going to go to our next topic. Action Comp for $5. Anyone see Red Letter Media's Why Movie Theaters Are Dying? I'm assuming that's a video. Any rebuttals to their arguments? I have not seen it. No. Sorry, Action Comp. I did put it in my watch list as soon as I saw your super chat, so I will check it out after the show. And on Wednesday, maybe I can hit it on Wednesday or tonight on Toxic Femme. Patrick Robinson for $5 says, has anyone seen the new Venom trailer? Is this
yes.
a Venom? joining the MCU or just wishful thinking? Andre.
Yes, okay. Paul and Mike, why don't you guys take 3 minutes to go and watch the new Venom trailer while I address the secondary part of the question.
All
Well,
right, I'll
actually,
be right
first I'll
back.
give my thoughts on it, and then I'll address the second part of the question. Now, yes, I did see the trailer, and the reason for it is that I was so disappointed by the second Venom movie. I really couldn't stand it. It's one of the most disappointing comic book movies I've ever seen because my expectations were so high after the first Venom, which I absolutely loved. I think the first Venom is just spot on and fantastic. It's ironic because the only thing that makes it so good is this, I don't know, game feature, if you will, of Venom and Tom Hardy talking to each other. It's like their interaction between them is what makes the movie. If it weren't for that, then Venom would just be another mid-2000 comic book movie, which honestly is what we need right about now. But anyway, the first Venom I thought was fantastic. Second Venom, great disappointment. They completely botched Carnage. And now we have the trailer for the third Venom, The Last Dance. And I have to say, I think it looks quite promising. I hope it is going to be good. I hope it is going to be more akin to the first one than the second one. And to me, it looks like it's going to be that it's going to be similar to the first one. I really hope so, that it is going to be one of the pleasant surprises where comic book movies are concerned this year. It's a movie that shouldn't have anything woke about it at all. It's a Sony production, so that really shouldn't be a thing there. So I just hope it's going to be a fun movie. And as for Venom joining the MCU, I think that's wishful thinking. I do not think there's any chance of that happening. Or I'm not going to say it's not any chance, but I think it's a very, very slim chance. The official communication coming from the studio has been that this is their final movie, and this is where Tom Hardy leaves the role. That's the official line of communication surrounding it. Now, maybe they're lying. Maybe they'll surprise us and suddenly he pops up in the MCU. It's within the realm of reality that something like that could happen. But I'm not betting any money on that, but to put it this way, I think it's far more likely that if Venom returns, it's going to be the MCU Venom, courtesy of Kevin Feige, that there's some kind of agreement or some kind of opening in the Spider-Man agreement which allows that to happen. Another thing where basically Sony pays and Marvel makes it more successful than Sony could make it on their own. I think that's much more likely than that Tom Hardy will be switching over to the MCU. He actually has done that already. Like the previous movie ended with a post-credit scene of him being transported into the MCU, and then he was in the MCU for another post-credit scene and another reference in like some movie, and then he was transported back again. So that's the only link that he has with the MCU so far, because he's adjacent to it, taking place in a different parallel universe. So yeah, boy, I'm rambling here, am I not? But anyway, yeah, hoping for the best, and do not count on any kind of MCU connection just yet. Paul, you have now seen it. What say you?
I really enjoyed it. I agree with you. Second movie was a huge disappointment because it kind of repeated a lot of the moments of the first movie, which I didn't need to see again. This looks like fun, and the stakes look really big. I really enjoyed it. There's all this military stuff, which, oh my God, we're seeing all the time where we gotta capture and sample, and we gotta figure out what's going on here. But wait a second, there's a bigger problem up in the galaxy that's, his kind is now coming to get him. Yeah, look at, and I love Tom Hardy. You know what? I'm really shocked that he has been willing to do this particular movie 3 times. Like, he's such a phenomenal actor.
It's funny because he's Mad Max. I mean, it's easy to forget about that. But yeah,
I
I
thought it
think
was
he'll be
great.
far better off being in Venom than Mad
He's
Max.
so funny in Venom. Like,
Yeah.
he really puts so much effort into acting that role. I have huge respect for him. That's not an easy role to make, feel vaguely real. I was entertained by the trailer. I thought this looks good.
Yeah, Mike, what did you think?
I agree. It was fantastic. Can't wait for it. More excited for that than I am Deadpool.
Honestly, so am I.
Moves for $5. The Force's Jedi feeling a BBC up its tailpipe or 2. Scissoring space. Witches immaculate conceiving a Force baby. Absolute.
Clown show. Yeah.
Well, and our last 2 super chats lead us right into our next topic, Andre, which are from Embrace the Apocalypse. We have 14. Whoops. Wait. Hold on. I'm getting confused. From Embrace the Apocalypse, we have 14
South African
Zarkonian.
runs.
Oh, South African Rand. See, I'm not a YouTuber. Rest in peace, Star Trek. Screw Skydance. And from Dash Attack, VTuber, $5. Thoughts on the Paramount Skydance merger? Glad it wasn't Sony, despite my cousin, a stockholder, wanting it to be Sony. So with that, I think we have an article to bring up, which I'll bring up now. Breaking news from about an hour and a half ago. Paramount and Skydance agree on a new deal, new mergers and acquisitions deal terms, but Sherry Roadstone has not approved the pact yet. There's our girl, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry, for all the great Star Trek we've gotten. Great job. Hey, Sherry, thanks for taking the stock gutter. Good job, Sherry.
You were our last hope,
Paramount
Xavi.
Global. Sorry, Andre, I'm turning into an editorial.
No, I understand. He was
Paramount
our last
Global's
hope, and she
M&A
blew
drama
it.
may soon be coming to a conclusion. The special committee established by Paramount's global board of directors to evaluate M&A proposals has reached an agreement with David Ellis and Skydance Media and his private equity backers on the terms of a complicated deal that would merge Skydance and Paramount while keeping Paramount publicly traded. Variety has confirmed. Skydance and its partners, Redbird Capital and KKR, which is the Kohlberg Kravitz Roberts investment firm, as we know from the late 80s through today, sweetened the original buyout offer to make it more attractive to non-voting shareholders of Paramount Global. Now, the deal awaits approval by Sherry Redstone, non-executive chair of Paramount Global, whose National Amusements Inc. owns 77% of the voting shares in Paramount Global. Redstone has not officially decided whether or not to. Who the hell is talking to me? I think Siri just turned on. Was that me or Paul?
That wasn't me.
Oh, that was my Siri just turned on. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, vaguely. It sounded.
Sorry about that.
Like
I think Siri confirmed Sherry for anyway.
Yeah.
Now the deal awaits approval by Sherry Redstone. Blah blah blah. Terms of Skydance and a part of the agreement have yet to be worked out. If she does agree, it would end her family's decades-long control over the media conglomerate and its predecessor companies. Which, by the way, Sherry, you and your dad, compared with who they put in place, ruined Star Trek.
Yep, they did.
All right. What do you got to say about this, Andre?
Well, if you had any hope, if you were a Star Trek fan and you had hope that things were going to get any better, now it's the time to end those hopes. What we have heard before is that, well, let's first address this. There are some people who have been under the false impression that Skydance were looking to buy Star Trek. If that's you, if anyone out there is listening, if any of you out there thought that Skydance were interested in buying Star Trek, you have been misinformed. The only way that they were getting Star Trek was as part of the package of buying Paramount. That's what this is all about. It's about them buying Paramount. And Star Trek is just one part of the deal. Okay, so they're not going to give it any kind of special attention, because to Skydance, Star Trek is just another property out of a million. And here's a bigger issue. You know what Skydance has done previously with Star Trek?
Oh yeah.
Well, they have done Star Trek Into Darkness, and they have done
Yep.
Star Trek Beyond. They have funded those. They have
They
been on
did the J.J.
producing
Abrams
side
Star
of
Trek.
those. Yeah, they have a working relationship with J.J. Abrams. From everything we have heard, they have somewhat of a strained relationship with the TV side and Alex Kurtzman, because Alex Kurtzman has stepped on their toes over a few other properties that has nothing to do with Star Trek. But where Star Trek is concerned, they just look at, oh, he's produced so much, he must have a good handle on this. We don't have time to look into any more details. We're just going to let him continue to do what he does best. That is everything that I have heard. The big problem for Star Trek the past almost 20 years now, ever since Berman left, and even a little bit before then, because Berman was getting old and tired of Star Trek, is that there hasn't been a good Star Trek brand manager. J.J. Abrams wasn't a good Star Trek brand manager, and Alex Kurtzman is the worst Star Trek brand manager you could ever imagine.
Not in his mind.
No, not in his mind. And here's the problem: not in Hollywood's mind, because they don't look into the details. They don't see what he's actually doing. All they see is numbers, and they don't even look too closely at the numbers. What they really look at is, oh, so much is being made. It must be successful. There must be demand here. And then they don't see that it's all being made because there's a contract, which means it must be made. And it must be paid for by Paramount, at least that which is contractually stipulated. And I fear that this is very, very bad news for Star Trek and for everything else. Well, it ultimately depends on what Ellison is going to do. I don't know that Ellison is enough of a businessman. Like, this is no Saslaw. David Ellison is someone who's running amok with his daddy's credit card, because Ellison comes from the Ellison family, and they are aristocracy. That's why he's doing this.
The
Larry Ellison, Oracle.
Larry, yes.
Yes.
He took daddy's money and decided to open up a studio, and that's how Skydance got.
Correct. And so let's be clear.
I'm very well informed of this because I'm from the Bay Area where Oracle is based.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, this is the child of aristocracy. Yep. And he's like, I want a studio. Daddy, give me money. Let me have your credit card so I can go buy me a studio. I want to buy me some more properties. I want to invest in this. And he is not a successful businessman. I mean, I'm sure he's a fine businessman, but he is never someone that has made it on his own. Everything that he has gotten. And maybe he would have been a great businessman. Maybe if he had started from nothing, he would have done the same thing. We don't know. But what we do know is that everything he has right now is paid for with daddy's money, with a family fund. So he's like a trust fund kid that wants a studio, and that's now who is, by all accounts, taking over all of Paramount. Is he a businessman enough that he can go in and see, okay, this brand manager isn't working, this brand manager isn't working, this producer isn't working, this executive isn't working? Is David Ellison businessman enough that he can do that for Paramount? That he can do for Paramount what David Zaslav did for Warner? Maybe, but I would have to see that. And so far, I have no reason to think that he's going to. So I don't think this is good news.
I'm not willing to poo-poo the rich and famous because, you know.
No, as I'm saying, like, maybe he can surprise us. All I'm saying is we do not know what he would have done completely on his own if he didn't have everything.
Well, we don't know. Maybe it's not possible to do that anymore.
Maybe that could very well be that all the ladders have been taken away, and if you're not aristocracy, you can't get to that level. That could be.
Where would the Renaissance have been without the Medicis?
Yeah, this is true. This is true, and this is also why I'm not conclusively saying that this is bad. All I'm saying is that David Ellison, he hasn't convinced me, and until he has convinced me, I don't see anything to where I can say, yeah, this is good news.
I mean, Skydance has had a kind of checkered career of shows
And movies.
And movies. I mean, they've done like anyone else, good and bad. I would say their catalog is nowhere near as interesting as Miramax's. Miramax
True.
really has an interesting catalog.
Andre, someone showed up that's supposed to be on their day off.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Oh, I just came in to say we're fucked.
Well, that goes without saying.
Paramount.
Tell it, Tom.
It's
Tell
more
us,
of the same.
why are we
More
fucked?
of the same.
Why are we fucked? How are we fucked?
Because Skydance is the reason Paramount is in the position they're in now. They're at least
certainly part of
80% of
it.
the reason. At least 80% of the reason. Because 90 or to 80% of what they release is Skydance produced stuff. So it's going to be more of the same. Mine Turtles are done for. I don't know. I mean, and I don't know, Paul. I mean, they've got a hell of a catalog too. They have the Miramax catalog on top of it all. So I mean, it's
No, but I'm talking about stuff that Skydance has made.
They produce Transformers, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost every Paramount movie that's come out in the last 10 years.
Right.
And among those are some very good and some very bad. And it depends entirely on the creative team and that's in charge of those individual movies, because it doesn't seem that there's much quality control within Skydance. Like, okay, here we have a project ready to go, shoot in the money, and then whatever maybe happens. That seems to be their approach. Whereas I don't see them going in and saying, this isn't going to work. This isn't properly managed. This brand isn't properly managed. They're going to be like, oh, Seth Rogen and Michael Bay teaming up for the next Turtles. All right, cool. Here's the money.
Well, here's the problem with them. For every single Tomorrow War or Top Gun Maverick, you have a Snake Eyes, an Atom Project,
right?
A Terminator Dark Fate,
right?
A Gemini Man, Ghosted. Like, and then you got like the Family Plan. Okay, that's a good one. But then you got Transformers and all.
But they're of a Hollywood kind of
Baywatch.
Yeah, but they're of a sameness. They're, like Miramax has got costume dramas. I mean, they have a really, really wide range of
Miramax, you say?
Miramax. Yeah, it's Miramax.
Yeah,
but they're just a label. They aren't even a studio anymore.
But again, even if you take
but that only goes to show the importance of the individual brand managers. And that is what Skydance lacks.
Skydance is not a very creative. I mean,
that's exactly what I mean.
That
they will go in, they will take a project that is ready to go, and they will just infuse the cash, get the credit for it, but they don't have like an individual profile or any brand managers that will give any kind of like quality control, which is why we can't really expect anything to change, because Skydance so far has only been someone that puts in money into something that's all ready to go. And that's why they have like this incredible mix between great stuff and shitty stuff and everything in between, because they just put money into things which are ready to go without doing any kind of quality control with it.
Even Canon had a more variety of
they had a more consistency in their output, because you had like two guys that had or at least one guy that had a vision. Skydance doesn't have that.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's so we're all in agreement here. We're all saying the same thing, only in different ways.
That's the key to conversation.
Yeah.
Tom, if you were Sherry's financial advisor, what would you tell her about this deal?
Well, my guess is this deal is beneficial for her, or she probably wouldn't have been so hard for it, because the Sony deal sounded good, but then they retracted part, and we'd have no idea what they restructured the offer as, or if they even came back to the table. So, I mean, whatever, she should have took the Sony deal. It was the better deal at the time.
I thought that would have meant I would see if.
But I guess they backed off because of regulatory issues. They were thinking about CBS was going to be an issue, I guess.
How?
I guess that's where Culture was right, in a sense that I think they're considered a foreign-owned company. So it's fine for them to own studios, I guess, but not a network or something like that. I have no idea.
Oh, that's right. If that's what he said, then he's right. That yeah,
Well, and Sony owns Columbia, so it technically this
Yeah.
is like another Disney swallowing up Fox.
yeah.
Yes and
Skydance
no,
doing
but
it,
yeah.
with Skydance doing it, then Paramount stays Paramount.
Well, are you optimistic? Okay, I know you're pessimistic. If we were to look into let's say this deal closes in the next year, 5 years into the future, what do you think we're going to have here at Paramount then with this
Same
merged
shit.
company?
Yeah.
Same shit.
It's
Nothing-
it's gonna feel like nothing really changed. Like if you didn't know there was a changing of hands, I highly doubt you'll notice.
If the first thing they do is bring in some really, Tom Roth in his heyday,
yeah, I
know,
think
some-
Tom's right.
so someone who can run this thing.
As Andre was rattling off all of the Sundance projects that they've done with Paramount, and listening to Tom, it makes me realize that basically these guys have been in. It would be like me and Paul. It would be like Mr. Canoehead and Mexican Iron Man are a team, a force of nature on social media, Twitter, YouTube, but Paul's the boss, and Paul wants to retire, and then I say, okay, well, I'm going to buy you out, but basically we're going to keep running things the way we keep running things.
Yep.
The Mr. Canoehead.
Yeah, but you guys are ex-amateurs. I've got like the co-creator of Big Bang Theory coming after me. Psh.
Yeah,
the one that nobody knows his name.
Yeah,
Bill Cardy.
Yeah.
You definitely know how to get in better Twitter fights than me for sure. And Paul, whew, he knows how to throw.
You know what's hilarious is I don't think he's gotten one like on any of his tweets. Yeah, poor guy. And I really slammed him hard on Big Bang Theory too. Oh,
well,
okay. Anyway, that being said, speaking of CBS, they're for Skydance. I mean, this is a big deal for them more than it is for Paramount.
It is really a big deal.
That's the thing. It puts them now on a level where they're on a studio level. They'll have a network behind them. I'm sure they have a lot of television projects as well. I mean, this might be a beneficial situation for them as far as Tom Cruise goes. But we know he's already moved his offices over to Warner Brothers. So, because I don't know how much Tom Cruise has invested in Skydance, or it's more so the other way around.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is that Skydance has that big, huge production facility by Chase. Remember that last year?
Yeah, so it's not like again, I think it's just going to be more of the same. I don't think it's going to really change all that much.
Yeah.
There may be a few things, but I doubt it. Unless there's like something that's stopping them from doing something that Ellison's wanted to do. I really don't see any change.
Tom, from your sources, have you heard any recent updates, rumors where
Actually no
or anything else since the last time?
Funnily enough, as soon as those offers came in, my source went completely radio silent.
Well, then that tells me something. You know what that tells me, Tom?
That they either got fired or
no. Usually when that happens, from my experience, is that they that's when like deals are really happening in earnest and everybody goes on lockdown mode. Like even the Whisper
pretty much,
Network shut down. So
well, I knew it was going to be sooner than later. They had to come up with a deal. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're one step closer to me waking up and realizing that I will literally die without ever seeing any good Star Trek. I will literally be in the ground before I ever see Star Trek good again.
Yeah. Well, look on the bright side. I mean, this brings Chris Hemsworth into Transformers 3 versus G.I. Joe all that much more closer.
Well, I think that was already kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely happening now.
Yay, Paul.
But with that, I'm going to leave you guys. I just literally stopped in for a few minutes just to give my 2 cents on the whole Paramount deal. But
I'll call you later, Tom. Love you.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Have fun.
For the rant, yes.
Yeah, mini rant.
Any final words on this, which is happening? Then we have another story about something which is not happening, or may be not.
Yeah, the only thing I would say that from an ego and perspective, Ellison, having captured such a storied brand like Paramount, I think would be huge. That would be the pinnacle of why he got into the business.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
But sure, I mean, but the bigger these companies and these mega companies get, the worse things get for us as fans of any
For sure.
IP. The worse it is. The worse it is for everything. That's why I think Tom was on the money when he says he's toast for his Mutant Ninja Turtles, because whatever's going to come out is going to come corporatized, watered down, thinned out garbage.
Yeah, and again, because this is the issue. There's no brand managers there. I mean, he can win me over easily, and Ellison can win me over by just assign some quality control. Find some people, find a bunch of people who are what we all thought that Kevin Feige was. Find brand managers to look over all of their biggest franchises, properties, just to ensure that they are being treated right, and empower them, see how they can do. And I think that's going to do better than how it is right now, where each individual project is funded however it is, but there's no larger corporate strategy to anything.
Well, so there's two interesting parties involved with Skydance. One is Lasseter. Isn't he still with them?
Yes, he's still with them. So that's one thing I'm not worried about.
So that's an interesting piece in a puzzle. And also the Russo brothers have been doing a lot of work with Skydance. And now they've had some failures. I think Ghosted was one of theirs, which was...
yeah, they haven't really had anything other than failures. That's kind of like
interesting. They've had a couple of okay ones. Citadel was beyond dreadful. Which they did for Netflix. I believe it was Netflix. No, Citadel was just horrendous. So the Russo brothers, even though they've got a good rep working on the Marvel movies, they're kind of been iffy since they left, although they did executive produce that Michelle Yeoh Academy Award-winning movie. Everything, Everywhere, All the Time, or whatever it's called.
All right, and we have our next story ready to go, Andre. Get excited, because we have breaking rumor news next on the heels of the news, and that is from an article by That Park Place, the great John F. Trent. Rumor: Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40K show at Amazon might be shelved. In an article released this morning, it says a new rumor claims that Amazon MGM Studios and Games Workshop's Warhammer 40K live action project from Henry Cavill might be shelved. This new rumor comes from YouTuber Arch of the Archcast channel. Andre, for the benefit of our listeners, who is Arch?
Arch, he is one of the most notorious and famous members of the entire Warhammer fan community. He's a fellow Norwegian, countryman of mine, and he has been on Midnight's Edge several times in the past. I have sent him the link and invite for this stream, but I know that he is frequently busy on Mondays. So I do not know if he will be able to show up today. Probably won't be, but I know we'll have him later to talk more about this. But basically, he is someone that has connections to the Warhammer community, for better and worse, and he knows what's going on.
Well, he says that apparently there's an agreement in principle between Games Workshop and Amazon. In effect, a team of Amazon writers is right now trying to write out a story that's going to be turned into the Warhammer 40K TV show. They have, he says, a few more months on this deadline for this project, and they have to hand it in, and then it is either has to be greenlit, or they have their writing date further postponed in the hope they can produce something better down the road, or the entire project will be shelved. They'll either have a project that they'll go ahead with, they'll shelve the whole thing, or they'll extend the deadline and try and get a decent product going. In other words, nothing is finalized yet. Absolutely nothing. There isn't even any money for the project allocated, as far as this insider tells Ash, related to Amazon. No writing staff has been truly hired. No money has truly been allocated. No plans have been truly made.
This is bad. I like this sounds correct to me, because the way that this usually works is that you have a smaller team that basically makes a pitch and a Bible and maybe writes a couple of episodes for the series, so that Amazon, who will be paying for most of this, can see what they have, if they like the pitch and the ideas coming for this, and if they do, that's when they'll infuse the cash needed to make everything else happen. And that's when it practically kind of like gets a green light. That's when you have like announcement that this or that is going straight to series, and it gets like an order for so and so many seasons right off the bat. That's what happens after you get to this stage. Now, this thing has been in development for so long that honestly it should have been there already, but we're still in like this development holding pattern still after all this time, where they still haven't reached the deadline for where they're supposed to hand in, and there's nothing, not like those three options, they seem plausible to me. But what is worrisome is that we are still there. That tells me that there is fundamental disagreement between the parties on exactly which direction to take this. And I'm almost positive that a big problem here is Games Workshop, and they want to do this. They want women to be among the whatever the thing was, like guardians or rangers or whatever the heck it was. They're gonna want their equity and inclusion and everything like that, because Games Workshop is down with the cause, and obviously so is Amazon. And then you have Henry Cavill that's trying to fight against it. So obviously here you essentially have a three-body problems, where two are going to evict the third before something really gets going here. That's what seems to be going on to me. Now, this tells me that either the whole thing is going to get shelved, or Cavill is going to get kicked out, and it happens without him. I think those are the two likely options here.
I don't think it's necessarily the DEI component of it. If you know the history of 40K and Games Workshop, they've always been way too precious with their product. They have failed any number of times with making a video game, of making a TV show. They have a vast history of not being able to pull the trigger. And I think this is like, if you don't have that muscle memory, the ability to make stuff with your stuff, then I think they're just choking.
Even if, to use your analogy, so even if they are able to pull the trigger on something and get it out, they still must land Warhammer 40K bullet through woke target of DEI Amazon.
But I'm saying that's a new thing.
Right. I don't think we're ever so building on what you said and building on what I now know of Amazon's DEI processes, right. There's never going to be a 40K Warhammer that's going to be any bit good.
There you go. Yeah.
There's no way. So all of you 40K fans out there that celebrated, and I got two really good friends of mine. One of them's my best friend up in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm putting my flag in the ground and saying you're never going to get a good 40K Warhammer from Amazon, period, with or without Henry. Because of those two reasons. One is what Paul said. Two is that I'm now painfully aware of the DEI process that Amazon goes through, which is now in their show greenlighting process. So before let's just say it's going to be the most amazing 40K Warhammer script ever. The first thing that we got to do, Paul, let's play Amazon DEI. Paul, I'm not sure if this show, 40K Warhammer, I'm not sure if it's going to be sensitive to indigenous peoples. And I think that before we get started, we need to have a land acknowledgement. By the way, this is an actual something I bought at a reservation in New Mexico. So Warhammer should be redone. We need a mech suit Warhammer that acknowledges the indigenous peoples.
You mean a mechs suit?
Mex. Yeah, that one. Yeah. And then also, Paul, since you're going to do the green lighting of my 40K Warhammer woke show, I need you, Paul, to make sure you tell those writers that we need to have something. We need to land on a planet that celebrates some Pride Month stuff.
I agree.
All right, green
Totally
light.
agree.
All done.
Yeah, so we'll go to Saturn, which has got the rings, and we're going to recolor the rings.
Yes.
Total.
Bingo. Perfect.
Total LGBT rings. Where, in fact, I'm offended that Saturn right now does not have Pride rings.
Saturn, I'm gonna have to say Saturn right now as a planetary body is a bigot, because I am not seeing that they're honoring Pride Month. But anyway, so basically, this is the end is not near.
Although Uranus is definitely celebrating Pride Month.
Oh yeah. Uranus is
sorry.
Yeah.
I had to say that.
Okay, Andre's gonna fire us both and finish.
Oh, we're done. We're toast.
There's been worse. You just didn't know it. Yeah.
Andre, what say you of me and Paul's analysis?
I think that you are spot on. That's exactly what it's going to be. And if you are a fan of Warhammer, then my condolences. I don't know what else to say, but you're probably better off with it being shelved than it actually happening.
Yeah.
So like, Fallout was a fluke. And I know that many hardcore gamers, they don't even like Fallout the series anyway. I loved it, but that's probably because I never played the games and I never will. But I just thought it was fantastic in its own right. But again, that's a fluke. We don't know that is something that can happen again. I certainly would not put any hopes into it. Not with the management at Amazon, with Jennifer Salke there, and with the good people at Games Workshop who are in full agreement with her mentality and philosophy and everything. So probably better off if this doesn't happen. Not in this environment.
I mean, you know what? It's so funny. I could imagine a conversation where they're going, okay, we're going to green light this show, but you got to give me one lesbian and one trans. No, I'll see your trans, but I'm going to give you 2 midgets, black midgets. Okay. How about one black midget with, I mean, I can actually see.
You're joking, but when you look at like all of these DEI requirements, that's probably exactly how the talks go.
Yeah. You know, the producer knows that they've got to capitulate to some, and I'll give you one indigenous New Mexican bird thing. and one Australian Aborigine, I'll do that. And then I can't do that, but I can give you a bisexual hermit. Okay, we've got a deal.
That's probably exactly how it happens.
You know what?
How they go and they, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing that kind of horse trading now.
I'm sure, and same with the Oscars committee. When you look at like the Oscar rules and everything that we broke down a little bit in our most recent video on Richard Dreyfuss, that you weren't too happy with. I mean, I guarantee you, there's that kind of. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kudos to Tom for being the driving force behind that. Too bad it doesn't have any views. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out.
We have some super chats, and then we'll hit our next story. Cable Watson for $2 says, Iron Man, what do you think of Mexico's new president? I don't know who the new president is. I have not been following Mexican politics because I've been overwhelmed with U.S. politics. But let's see. If it's a female and she's liberal or remotely liberal, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be great. Yeah, right. Jason Webster for $5 Australian says, Furiosa 2. Furiosa must overcome a broken fingernail to lead a quest to find supplies of a precious commodity. The Citadel is out of toilet paper.
I was wondering how she wipes her ass with the metal hand.
Ouch. Well, okay.
I'm sure that's something that can be covered in the animated sequel, because there's not going to be a live action version to find out.
Paul, I'll tell you about my trip to Tijuana Midnights After Dark one night, but not in the morning show. School Leader 2016 became a YouTube member at the Midnighter level, Andre. We've got a new supporter.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome.
When's our next member stream? Do we have one in there?
We're going to try in the next few days here. Maybe within the next 6 days, at the latest next Sunday.
All right. I can't do next Sunday, but it's okay. You guys go without me. Chaos Sonic 1 for $5 says Games Workshop will fail more when they still allowed the BS of female custodies BS cause of appealing to Amazon.
Custodies.
Oh, custodies. What's that?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Custodian.
talking about. I mean, they are the ones that all this controversy has been about. Games Workshop suddenly insisting that no, the custodes were always female.
Oh,
no, you're just insane for thinking that that was part of the lore. They've always been female. We just went and changed history. Now respect it, you bigots. That's kind of like
you bigots. Bigots, you. Bucky Cat has been a member for 14 months since a hello. Land acknowledgement. Irate specialist for $5 US says land acknowledgement. YouTube is the native home to Mexican Iron Man, the greatest of YouTubers. We need to take a moment and acknowledge this fact. Wow, there's so many things you could have spent $5 on. Thank you, Irate specialist. You are officially enrolled in corrective education because that is wrong thing. Marksman of 117B, $5 says, Arch mentioned that Amazon has been getting so many complaints from fans threatening to cancel Prime if they mess up. Amazon see it as much too hassle to mess with.
Yeah, that may also be a thing. That they see, we don't need this heat. There's plenty other things that we can just go and feminize without having to deal with this. But of course, that would be much less fun, though.
Dean Krantz, I am a fan for $10 says I'm a fan of 40K, but they did have a 40K movie but refused to back it. That movie is Starship Troopers, Imperial Guard versus Tyranids at its best. They copied their lore from better stories.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that movie it copied stuff from everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if it took something from 40K as well. I mean, it copied everything apart from the novel Starship Troopers.
Yep. And we've got last super chat. Then we're going to go to the next story for $5 from Doll Life Dan. Rest in peace, Aiko Masuyama, the voice actress behind both of anime's first two sex symbols, Fujiko of Lupin III and Cutie Honey. She was 89 years old.
Well, may she rest in peace. It would appear that she has quite a body of work behind her.
Yeah.
I won't feign that I know any of these things, but kudos to her, and my thoughts to her family and to her fans.
All right, ready for the next story, everybody?
Yeah, let's go. We have one more thing to cover today.
Well, it's been hot in the news since last Thursday or Friday, all over the weekend. Star Wars The Acolyte actor claims Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star and that recent Disney Star Wars shows did not feature Jedi.
Yeah, let's get into the big series dropping this week, namely The Acolyte. How excited are we for it?
Paul Chato?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to hate watch it for my channel.
What?
Nope.
What?
Will you be withholding those views from Disney Plus? That's truly horrible.
I'm just not interested in doing that. There'll be lots of hate watching out there. Enjoy the other people's YouTubes. It's again, I think I've said this with a whole bunch of properties. Do not go in there at all thinking that this is a Star Wars product. That's gone. Don't think of Discovery as Star Trek. Don't think of The Witcher as The Witcher. I mean, and Wheel of Time. If you just get rid of the name National Treasure, if you're going to watch National Treasure, pretend that's not National Treasure. I'm talking about the TV series.
Yeah, it's not the real deal with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. How do you do it without Nicolas Cage? These things are just in name only, and I can't remember who was it who said it. Might even have been George Lucas. Is that they're just remaking the remake of remakes. These are echoes of what the original movies were. That's it.
You know, I'm going to be very Canadian on you, Paul, and say, Paul, we should give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't know that it's not going to be good until it comes out. And I can't even do this with
Normally, I would say that, but I mean, I don't trust them.
Yeah,
And I think right there you touched on the issue, because I think it's really funny with the Acolyte is that no one trusts this. This is something that we have all written off the moment it was announced, and we wrote it off for a good reason. Everything they have basically said is, this is not for you. And just to address the headline on screen, with like one of the dumb actors in it, well, maybe he's not dumb, he just doesn't know his Star Wars, and that's fine. He's an actor. He's there to perform one role. He doesn't need to research the history of the franchise that he is in order to do that. But I'm amazed that they would let a comment like that go live, that they don't have anyone to correct it, and they probably don't, because no one there knows Star Trek. And it's kind of like the sales pitch, that you don't need to know your Star Trek to enjoy the Acolyte. You just need to be woke as hell. That's the only requirement. You have to be down with the good people and be on the right side of history. And if you're not, then you're not a fan. We know this because Leslie Hetland told us so.
Yep.
well, I sadly have already agreed to hate watch this thing for Doomcock. So, and yesterday I was listening to the show, Paul, that you were on. Were you on it? No.
Yeah, with George the Giant Killer.
Yeah. When he played the video of these quotes, and I got to tell you, they're pretty damn. Look, I understand there's a school of thought that I'm sure Script Doctor would say, "Hey, actors aren't supposed to know anything." Blah blah blah. I get it. But damn it, this shows how broken Hollywood is. If the publicists can't control what comes out of their mouths, they deserve everything. You know, they're just out there running their mouths. And we as fans, we know better. You know, we as fans catch each other on crap. Like I remember some of the biggest debates I've gone on are like the most random Star Wars crap. Like which style of Jedi lightsaber fighting would carry the day? Why is Yoda style better, different than fill in the blank? I mean, knockdown, dragouts, been at a Star Wars convention or a meetup, and literally got in dragged out, over lightsaber blade colors. Now at this point in time, I don't even care enough to charge the damn things that are on my wall. I'll probably charge them when Paul comes. Paul, we got to do a lightsaber fight when you come in August.
Sounds good.
And we're gonna film it
in your pool.
Yeah, well. No, no, that would be, well, unless you get here for Pride Month, then we'll do it. No, anyways, but I just think these guys, there's multiple levels of failure. Failure of publicists to control what this person said. Failure of the actor to not have enough humility to say the right thing and the right truthful thing. Failure of the movie theaters to not manage this. Just failure across the board. And then yet in the end, when this thing fails, the failure will be blamed on us. It's going to be blamed on the 1,500 people in this chat, the 3 or 4 of us on this, been on the show today, and all of our friends. And it's, I'm just sick of it. When you put out a moron that comes out and says something like this, regardless of whether or not he is a moron and this or that, no excuses. Okay, there's no excuses. I'm sick and tired of freaking excuses. This is a massive fail. And when you fail like this, you're going to fail everywhere. Your box office is going to fail. Your viewers are going to fail. Your Disney Plus is going to fail. And Bob Iger, you mofo, are going to fail, along with your little hoe, Kathleen Kennedy. Sorry, Andre.
Can I add a little bit something to that, Mike? Because, of course, I'm in complete agreement. But there is someone else who is going to be blamed for this, in addition to all of the fans. And you said 1,500 watching. Probably, I would imagine that 1,500 is going to be about the same people who are watching The Acolyte in the end here. And of course, they're going to try to blame them. But I think someone else that's going to be blamed here is Leslie Hetland herself. Because someone is going to be blamed, and it's not going to be Kathleen Kennedy. In fact, I did a whole video about it. And if you check out the chat, I just pinned a comment to the very top there. If you can all do me a favor and open the link to that, just open it in a new window. That's for the premiere of our new video, where I break down the real big take away from what we know so far about The Acolyte, a series which apparently is going to pull yet another Last Jedi and ruin Star Wars even more. So just open a new window so you can be there for the premiere. I would very much appreciate that, because that's going to help give that video some reach. Because I discovered something in the advertising that not many people have picked up on, namely that Leslie Headland is being set up to take the fall for this when it fails, which is going to. So yeah, don't miss out on that video premiering in 15 minutes. We should be finished here by then. So just open that up in a new window right now. So please, I want to see all of you there, and I'll be there in the chat to comment on it as we go live here. As that video gets published. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, this series right here, if the rumors we are hearing of what happens in the third episode, if there's something to that, and obviously there is, because Alan Ing has seen it already, I don't know that there's going to be any comeback for Star Wars after this. I mean, I'm so glad that I don't have like that connection to Star Wars that so many others have, because I didn't grow up with it. But still, like, intellectually, I know what Star Wars means, and I'm insulted on behalf of this, on all the fans, for this attack against culture, because that's what this is. And The Acolyte may be the worst of it so far. It may be even worse than The Last Jedi.
Alan said the first two shows weren't so bad. It's the third show where
Exactly. That's where it really goes off the rails.
One of the things he says, one of the things that was most terrifying is stepping into that position of Jedi. We haven't seen a lot of Jedi, Andre, in the last couple films or even TV shows that have been coming out. So returning to that storyline and reinvesting in it was daunting, because the Jedi are these,
Remind me, were there any Jedi in Ahsoka? I mean,
None.
Doesn't Ahsoka technically qualify as a Jedi? Didn't she have like a Padawan or something?
And from where I was growing up, from the films that I was seeing, they were better than could be. They were utmost and could do nothing wrong. It was like godlike nature. So getting to see more. Oh my God, I can't read this guy.
I just want to continue do like a head count of like Jedi. What did we have before that? I mean, we had the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I mean,
Jedi.
Yeah, Jedi.
Check. Jedi. Next. Name another one.
Yeah, wasn't the
Ahsoka.
Ray Stevens? Yeah, exactly. I did that. So there we have two.
And Ahsoka was also in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, so that's a Jedi right there. I mean, I believe Luke Skywalker was also in The Mandalorian. He's a Jedi, is he not?
No.
Well, Luke Skywalker, yeah, he shows up in the last. Yeah.
Ahsoka's not technically a Jedi. She's Jedi adjacent.
Whatever.
Close enough. I mean, she even has a Padawan her own and everything.
Yes, she does. Yes, that's right.
I'm gonna puke. Oh, Matthew W. in chat's puking. I'm gonna puke with Matthew.
But these actors need to stop pretending they know the lore. What they need to do is just concentrate on their own character and how much they enjoyed playing it. Don't. You're just going to trip yourself up unless you're, one of the dudes from Friday Night Tights who knows this thing dead to rights. Don't start talking about it.
But do you think it's deliberate that they do this to like piss people off?
No. They're just opening their cake holes and sounds are coming out, and they're kind of improvising and trying to, I think, genuinely make the audience feel that they're one of them, but failing miserably.
Well, this is the thing with actors, I guess. They're like so used to pretending to be someone else. Now they're pretending to be part of the audience.
When you watch his interview, he's skating between ideas. I can tell that he's trying to get something coherent coming out of his brain, but he's not even finishing sentences. And then the few sentences he does finish, he steps into a giant pile of poo. I don't know why. Again, I think he genuinely wants to show people that he's one of us. And in that sense, I give him credit, but he isn't. He doesn't know the lore, and he shouldn't have tried. It was a big mistake. It was a strategic mistake to try to tell everybody what we already know.
So, Andre, your video today is going to delve into the positioning of this release from
Yes.
Wow. I think
Yes.
that's going to be fascinating to watch.
And that video is dropping in 10 minutes from
Wow.
now. So everyone, please look into the live chat. There's a pinned comment there. Go and open up a new folder so you can be there for the premiere of that video, which is going to begin right as we round out here. So you can be there and join us as we comment on it live.
Well,
Because that'll be fun.
Well, then let's get through these super chats then. And
yeah, let's do
watch the
it.
video. From Sean Cotter for $5. Hey, Sean, that's a good friend of mine. Mike reading those super chats like a seasoned YouTuber. No, like a lucky rookie.
Big difference.
Like a seasoned producer.
There you go. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Enrique Vasquez for $2. Thank you, Chato. This is what everyone should do.
Everyone should thank me. I agree.
Yeah. I remember when I first found your videos, I was like, I know this guy from somewhere. And then I found you, and then that's how I realized you were part of the Spanish TV show. We've talked about
Los Cuatros Locos en El.
Yeah. That's you pretty much look the same though. I mean, you just have gray hair now. All right, sorry, back to super chats. Retro No for 10, would that be euros?
Euros.
Mr. Chato, I would love your green light, yes or no, for Acolyte, just the first episode.
I might just do that. I might just do, again, I try to be very honest about it. I have greenlit things that have become failures and not greenlit things that, well, very few that have become successful. But yeah, I might do that. I've changed my mind.
There you go. Sweet. All right. $10 euro got us to get to Paul Chato to watch at least. Well, by the way, Chato, when they release tomorrow, they're dropping the first 2 episodes in a row.
But I only do the first. I watch the first and try to pretend that's the pilot, and that's the videotape that they sent me. That's the one I have to judge, green lighting or not, the rest of the show.
Chris K for $5. Hail the Mexican Iron Man, hail to Chato, and hail to Andre. Have you gentlemen seen Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, the old animated Star Wars ripoff? I have not.
I have. It's fantastic.
Really?
I haven't seen it for many years. I have to rewatch it. But yeah, that's an awesome movie.
Wow.
Chato, have you seen it? Heard about it?
I have not heard of it.
No, it's very cool. It is one of like the underrated 80s animations for a slightly older audience.
I will look it up.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay, and then we've got Aurora Uplinks for $5. Hear me out. What if the male actor hates what's being done to Star Wars and played dumb to torpedo the seals a bit more? The women knew his actions bad. To torpedo the what?
Well, to basically
torpedo the series.
Yeah. No, why would he do that? He's in it.
He's in it. No one wants to do that. In fact, for his career, he wants the most watch views possible.
Exactly. He doesn't care about Star Wars.
And I mentioned it yesterday. Every actor should, especially in a property like Star Wars or Witcher, whatever, should take a look at what Ella Purnell did with her interviews for Fallout. She actually went and played the game, so she had lots to say. And number one, she's endearing. Number two, she's intelligent. Number three, she dove in and did the research. So you gave her full credit. And then Walton Goggins was great because he was completely honest. I don't know this fucking thing. I don't know. I don't play the game. My kids play the game. I don't care. So that was refreshing to see. No one was trying to be what they weren't. Be honest.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, an actor, I'm always of the opinion, the actor doesn't have to know the details of what they're playing as long as it comes across correct on screen. But there is
this need for an actor to look. I'm an actor. I get a sheet of paper. I read these lines. I'm nervous until the show comes out. Most actors never believe that they've done the thing properly, like ever. You don't understand that. Like yes, they're pretenders, but the moment they get the role, they're nervous. The moment they're acting the role, they're nervous. The moment the role is finished, they're nervous that they did a shitty job. At no time did they ever enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
All right, Disney's adult pretenders are getting dumber and dumber. That's $5 from Bucky Cat.
Thank you, Bucky.
Movie theaters may go the way of drive-in, says Brian Keith for $2. Oh man, that would be sad.
Yeah. No, something will happen.
That'd be sad.
That would be sad.
Jeez, Andre, did you guys ever even have drive-ins in Europe? No, of course not.
They projected movies on the wall of a giant ice on a.
No, wait a minute. It was Europe. They used to do it on the wall between East and West Germany.
Yeah.
I started out that way.
Carlos Alfredo Lopez. Huh?
Yeah, no, we have a premiere in progress. So
Carlos Alfredo Lopez, I'm almost at 2 more. For 9 months, Hell Midnight Six panel and chat. Mike is YouTubing like a pro for a non-YouTuber. Love your videos and analysis, Andre. Chato, great appalling shirt.
It is, and thanks for the kind words.
And we've got from Mr. Tickle Trunk $2 Canadian, 1 Rumble rant. What does that mean?
Yeah, that means check the mod group, because we probably have a Rumble rant in it. The Rumble rant is from Mr. Tickle Trunk, who sends $5 saying, Paul, good, stay away from the Acolyte. It would be bad for you anyway. It's just one more distraction from making the next TV guide video.
Yeah, I'm working on the next one. Yeah. 1987.
Indeed. And with that, I want to say thanks to everyone for being here today. Now, before we go, everyone, please go into the description and find the link for the live premiere, which is about to begin in just a few seconds. Chato, thanks for joining us today. Mike, thanks for joining us today. Everyone, please head on over to the premiere. We'll be seeing you there. And for right now, it is time for some. You can help me find the mic.
I got it. I'm ready to go.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given.